The Game Boy Advance is such an awesome console with a great library of games. It's about as powerful as a Super Nintendo. It's so similar to a Super Nintendo in fact that Nintendo decided to port over a bunch of games from the Super Nintendo to the Game Boy Advance. Let's go over what I think are the best ones. Final Fight 1. The Capcom side-scrolling beat-em-up classic was so much fun on the Super NES that Suntech was hired to port it over to the Game Boy Advance. The GBA version has some extras too. Now Cody, Guy, and Hagar are all available characters to choose from instead of just Cody and Hagar like on the Super Nintendo version. A new industrial area is now playable on the GBA version. New dialogue scenes have been added before all the boss battles. 2-player co-op mode is possible when using the GBA link cable. The Super NES port of Final Fight is a great game, but when you feel the need to play it on the go, Final Fight 1 for the Game Boy Advance is the way I like to play. The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past and Four Swords. In 1991, we were graced with one of the best action-adventure games of all time, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Make your way through Hyrule as Link as you battle through dungeons on your quest to restore Hyrule to its previous peaceful state. The Game Boy Advance version of the game is a slightly modified port of the original with a new multiplayer-only game called Four Swords. In Four Swords, 2 to 4 players work together through dungeons with puzzles while trying to collect rubies. While the multiplayer game Four Swords is a welcome addition to the cartridge, the original A Link to the Past is really what makes this game shine. The excellent music and story mixed with the classic Zelda gameplay make this one game that no Game Boy Advance fan should be without. Super Mario World, Super Mario Advance 2. Possibly the first Super Nintendo port that I ever played on the Game Boy Advance, Super Mario Advance 2 is a great port of arguably the best Super Nintendo game ever, Super Mario World. Not much has changed in this port. 2-player mode is not available, but Luigi is still playable by pressing the R button on the world map. The important thing is that what made the Super NES version so great is all still there. There are 72 regular levels, but because of all the secrets, there are 96 goals, with some levels having multiple goals. The courses get more difficult as you progress through the game before you reach the final boss Bowser and save the kingdom. The port is absolutely fantastic, and the game translates great onto the small screen. There are 3 other Mario games in the Super Mario Advance series, but this one might be my favorite of all of them. FZero Maximum Velocity. FZero Maximum Velocity was a launch title for the GBA. While technically not really a Super NES port but a completely new game, Maximum Velocity resembles the original F-Zero so much that I decided to include it on this list. This futuristic racing game takes place 25 years after the original F-Zero. Choose from 4 players from the start, each with unique abilities, as you make your way around the courses. There are obstacles in your way, so be careful. There's 20 tracks to choose from, most of which are brand new designs. The game plays fast, so great reflexes helps you progress to the more difficult stages, but the game can also be played casually on the easier tracks. I find it to be relaxing. Multiplayer is possible with the use of the GBA link cable. If you are a fan of the original F-Zero on the Super NES, then definitely check out Maximum Velocity for the Game Boy Advance. Donkey Kong Country! In 2003, one of my favorite Super Nintendo games was ported to the Game Boy Advance, Donkey Kong Country. The GBA version was completely redone from scratch but successfully mimics the Super NES version. Donkey and Diddy Kong tag team across 30+ well-designed levels. Highlights include minecart levels, underwater levels, and bosses that love to hoard bananas. I really like the graphical style of the game. They are pre-rendered 3D CGI models converted into sprites. They make for a really unique look for games of that time. The music is also really well done. There have been many sequels to the Donkey Kong Country games over the years, but the original on Super Nintendo and Game Boy Advance is still one of the best. And there are many other Super Nintendo to Game Boy Advance ports that I probably missed, but these are what I consider the best. Please leave a comment below if you can think of another one. Have a good day, and thanks for watching.